What if ancient humans had built their homes underground? Picture this scene. No walls, no roof, no shelter, just the open sky, predators lurking in every shadow, and a world that hungers for your death before dawn even breaks. You look down, not up at the trees, not out across the plains, but down into the earth, and you wonder, what if home isn't on the surface? What if it lies beneath it? This isn't a fantasy. It actually happened. And what these early humans discovered underground changed everything about how our species survived. Let's head down. First of all, why would it ever occur to anyone to go underground in the first place? Because life on the surface was unbearably harsh. The cold wind sweeping across the open plains could kill an unprotected human in just a few hours. Predators, cave lions, hyenas, short-faced bears were active at night and moved faster than any human alive. A tree might offer you perhaps 4 meters of elevation. A rocky overhang might shield you from the rain. But neither stops the wind, neither retains heat, neither truly hides you. The earth, however, provides all of this at once. Soil is one of the best natural thermal insulators in existence. Just 2 meters beneath the surface, the ground temperature stabilizes at the region's average annual temperature and remains constant. No daily fluctuations, no wind, no exposure to the elements. If you live in an area with an average annual temperature of 12 degrees Celsius, that is exactly the temperature you will find underground, every night, all year round. Ancient humans were clever enough to notice this, and we know this for certain because that is exactly what they did. The archaeological evidence for this is real. In South Africa, at a site known as Border Cave, humans were setting up sleeping areas inside caves as far back as 200,000 years ago. They laid down layers of grass. They brought in ash, a natural insect repellent, to line their beds. In what is now Ukraine and Russia, approximately 15,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers constructed semi-subterranean dwellings using mammoth bones and earth. They went deep underground. They created pit houses, partially sunken dwellings with floors situated a meter or more below the surface level. The earthen walls retained heat from a central hearth for many hours longer than any above-ground structure could have. In Cappadocia, in modern-day Turkey, ancient peoples carved entire cities out of the soft volcanic rock, going ever deeper, tunnel after tunnel, room after room. Some of these underground cities accommodated tens of thousands of inhabitants. They featured ventilation shafts, wells, storerooms, stables, and churches, all located underground. Derinkuyu, one of the most extensively studied of these cities, descends to a depth of 18 levels. This was not an act of primitive desperation, it was engineering. So what actually happens when ancient humans begin building not upward, but downward? Let's break this down step by step, exactly as it would have unfolded in reality. Step 1. Finding a suitable site. One cannot simply dig just anywhere. Early humans sought out locations possessing specific geological characteristics. Soft rock, volcanic tuff, sandstone, chalk. These materials could be worked using stone tools. Hard granite, impossible. But suitable stone could be carved out with patience and by employing picks made of deer antlers, as well as wooden wedges that were soaked in water to split the rock along its natural fissures. A level patch of ground situated near a water source, not too close. A flood would spell certain death. Yet, not too far either. Hauling water is backbreaking work, and ideally, a ready-made foundation, a shallow cave, a rock overhang featuring a natural fissure, something that would allow them to minimize the amount of excavation required right from the start. Step 2, the first chamber, roughly 2 by 3 meters in size. Perhaps 1.8 meters in height, just enough to allow a person to stand fully upright, dug down about a meter vertically and then horizontally into the hillside slope. This alone radically alters the conditions for survival. A fire lit within such an enclosure creates a heat trap effect. Warm air rises, hits the ceiling, and has nowhere else to go. The earthen walls absorb the heat, then slowly radiate it back out. A single fire, kindled in the evening, is sufficient to maintain the temperature inside the chamber above 15 degrees Celsius throughout the entire night. Compare this to sleeping out in the open, where with every passing hour, your body loses heat, and you wake up utterly exhausted, burning calories simply to stay alive. Underground, you sleep. You truly sleep. Step 3. The entrance problem. This is where things get interesting, and precisely where early humans demonstrated true intelligence. A straight entrance tunnel is a death trap. Any predator can catch your scent, spot the opening, and either reach a paw inside or start digging away at the entrance. The solution? A curved entrance, an L-shaped or S-shaped tunnel. A predator unable to see around the bend, and, more importantly, unable to build up momentum for a lunge, will not pursue you inside. Archaeological findings regarding cave modifications made by early humans confirm this very pattern. Narrow, winding entrances. Sometimes these featured a raised threshold that forced anyone entering to crawl, slow down, and proceed with extreme caution. A single person, armed with a sharpened stick deep within such a tunnel, becomes an adversary who is virtually impossible to dislodge. You have just invented a defensive choke point, 50,000 years before anyone built the first castle. What changes in daily life? Almost everything. Sleep quality. Modern studies of people sleeping in environments with stable temperatures demonstrate objectively deeper sleep cycles. Cortisol levels decrease, immune system function improves. Early humans living underground experienced this effect firsthand, even without understanding its underlying causes. They simply felt stronger. They recovered from injuries faster. They fell ill less frequently. Food preservation. The cool temperatures found underground drastically slow down bacterial growth. A piece of meat left on the surface during the summer would keep for, at most, a single day. Yet, in an underground chamber, at a temperature of 10 degrees Celsius, it would last 3 to 5 days, or even longer. This changes a great deal: how often you need to go hunting, how far you can venture from your campsite, and what risks you are willing to take. Efficient use of fire. On the surface, the heat from a campfire radiates in all directions and dissipates into the sky. Underground, however, that very same fire warms a confined, insulated space. You consume only a fraction of the firewood. In a world where gathering fuel takes up long hours every day, this is of colossal significance. Protection from the elements. Ice Age storms could rage for days on end. On the surface, this meant certain death, from hypothermia, from starvation due to the inability to go hunting, or from injuries inflicted by the elements themselves. Underground, however, one could simply wait out the bad weather. You have food reserves, you have water, you have warmth. Even a 5-day snowstorm becomes an entirely surmountable challenge.